This is something that I really want to start doing more on my channel because I do love a lot of eyeshadow. It's one of the things that I buy the most of aside from blush, but I don't want to forget about my old eyeshadow palettes just because I have new ones. So I just used a random number generator, and whatever number it picked out, I went to that number in my eyeshadow collection and pulled out the palette. And this week it is the Tartelette in Bloom eyeshadow palette. It's been a while since I've used this palette. I know that this is a classic for many people. A lot of people love this palette. I think even now it is still a very popular palette. So I will be doing 5 looks with this palette. Now I've already primed my eyes and then I set that with Flower Child and Charmer. I mix these two together. But we're going to start out with the shade Sweetheart on a fluffy eye blender brush from e.l.f. When I first got this palette, I really did enjoy it. I think it's such a very pretty everyday staple palette. I can see why it's really popular with people. And can we talk about the scent? I love the scent of these Tarte eyeshadow palettes like this. I want to do this more on my channel. I want to every once in a while take one of my older eyeshadow palettes or just use a random number generator again and let it pick out a palette for me and use it again. I love new makeup, don't get me wrong. I love to see what's new, I love to try new things, but I think it's also nice to use what you have. Then I'm going to take the shade Rebel on that same brush. And especially with how prices are now, how they're going up more and more, and even for drugstore makeup too. So what a better time than now to use what you have. Especially if you think that you own a palette that's similar to maybe a new one you had your eye on, then you just pull out that palette and you can get maybe a similar look with it. And I'm placing this also on the inner and outer portions of my eye as well. Then I'm going to take the shade Leader on an eyeshadow C brush from e.l.f. and I'll start tapping that on the outer and inner corner of my eye. Then go back to that first blending brush and just start blending around these edges. I like to stamp these darker shades in and then go back and blend them out, but this way I can get the most of the pigment. And then I'm going to take Firecracker on my finger and we're going to go right down the center here. Then I'm going to take this shade Funny Girl and we're going to go right over that Firecracker shade. Just to kind of add a little more intensity. Okay, I'm going to quickly finish the rest of my makeup off camera and then I will be right back to finish up the lower lash line. Okay, we're going to go back into that Sweetheart shade first. I'm just going to put that on that eyeshadow C brush that I used earlier and then just run that on my lower lash line. I kind of want to keep my lower lash line a little more on the softer side. But you don't have to. You could totally go in with some of the deeper colors too, but I'm just going to keep it at just this shade. Okay, then I'm going to take a little bit more of Funny Girl and pop that on the inner corner. Just a teeny amount. This really is such a pretty palette. Like, I can definitely see why it's a popular palette with people. I mean, just the shades are soft and buttery and they're pigmented. Now I'm just going to put on some mascara and then I will come in closer so you can see the final look. And there are the eyes all done. But here is look number 1 with this palette. Now I will be listing everything that I used on the rest of my face down below, but here is the finished look number 1 and stay tuned for look number 2. For today's look I'm keeping it pretty simple, so we're going to start out with the shades Jet Setter and Smarty Pants. I'm just going to mix those two on an e.l.f. blending brush. I'm just going to start working that in my crease. I did a look that had a little more steps to it yesterday, so I thought it'd be nice to keep today's look on the simple side with just mascara. So I'm going to place a little light amount of that on the outer corner too. Not very much because I'm just trying to keep this kind of a very soft, easy, everyday kind of eye. And do the same thing on the other eye, of course. This would probably be like a quick 5-minute eye look. And I love both types of eye looks. I love eye looks that have a little more to them, that are more intense or colorful. And then I love the looks like this too that don't require much effort. They're just quick and they're easy and they turn out just as pretty. And then I'm going to go in with the shade Charmer on a pointed eye pencil brush from e.l.f. You can totally use a shimmer. I think I just want to keep this a matte look today. And I want this shade to be kind of soft, so I'm using a brush that has a little more fluff to it. Tapping this shade in makes it stand out a little bit more if you're using a brush like this. You can go in with like a flat eyeshadow brush and really pack it. And that is literally all there is to it. So I'm going to quickly do some mascara and finish the rest of my face off camera. And I'll be right back to finish up the lower lash line. Okay, I'm going to take Jet Setter and Smarty Pants again. I'm going to mix those two together. I'm just going to take that on that pointed eye pencil brush. Just mix the two. And I'm going to run that on my lower lash line. Okay, I'm going to put some mascara on my lower lash line and I will come in closer so you can see the finished eye look. And here is the finished eye look. And here is the rest of my face for look number 2 with this palette. I will have everything that I use listed below. So next up we'll have look number 3. Okay, we're going to start out with the shade Smarty Pants. And I'm just going to take, this is an e.l.f. and J Kissa brush. This was the J3, but it's just a little fluffy blender brush. And I'm going to start working that through my crease. And kind of all over the lid as well. Just placing that all over the lid too, with this fluffy brush. And honestly, if you want a one and done look, you can stop right here. This shade is perfect for that. If you want like an all matte look, just one shade, I think Smarty Pants is a really good choice. I also think that Sweetheart would be a good choice too for that type of look. And just do the same thing on the other eye. Okay, and then I'm going to go into the shade Rebel on that same brush. I'm just doing the same thing all over the lid and in the crease as well. I've really been enjoying using this palette like this. Like, it's one of my older palettes that I haven't touched in a while, and I think it's just nice to revisit it and do a whole week of looks with it. Kinda like this, I mean, now, I'm not saying they're dupes because I don't own the other palette. I just, as far as color story, this color story kinda reminds me a little bit of that palette that Makeup by Mario put out, the limited edition one. Like, it has those same kind of neutral tones. So, I mean, if you couldn't get that one or you didn't want that one, you know, this might be a good option for that. Because these shades blend out very well. They're pigmented. The shimmers are really nice in this palette. Can't complain about any part of it. And on that same brush, we're going to take the shade Leader. And I'm mostly going to start packing this one on the lid first. Just kind of stamping that shade in. And then start blending that into the crease, what's left. I love doing these more kind of like smoky eye looks this way. Just start with the lightest shade in the palette and then build up to the darkest. Now, I know some people like to do the opposite. They start with the darkest and then blend it out to the lighter shade. I like doing it this way. Okay, now we're going to go into the shade Smoke Show on that same brush again. And just start packing that in here over the lid. And then what's ever left on the brush, then start blending it out into the crease. And don't worry if it's messy on the outer corner. I really can clean that up afterwards. Just focusing on the blending right now. So, look a little bit different than when you last saw me. I had some issues with this eye. I don't know if some eyeshadow got into my contact. I don't know, but it was just having trouble. Once I took the contact out, rinsed it with my solution and put it back, everything was fine. So I think eyeshadow got into the contact and irritated it. It messed up the eyeshadow. And I tried to fix it, I did, but it was making it worse, so I said I'd take it off, because I do have something I have to film after this, so I said I'd just go ahead and take this off anyway. That's why the rest of my face isn't done. I have another video I have to film for, and I said I'd just come back on and finish this eye, so you can still see the look I was going for with this palette. So let's do the lower lash line. I'm going to take Leader and Smoke Show on an angle brush from e.l.f. I'm going to mix those two together, dipping into those one time each. And I'm just going to start lining my lower lash line with that. Okay, I'm going to take Funny Girl on that same angled brush. And I'm just going to put that a little bit in the inner corner. Kind of bring it into that darker shade on that lower lash line too. Up a little higher into the beginning portion of my crease. And here is the finish eye, one eye. Well, there you have what one eye would look like in look number 3. I'm sorry that happened, but I wanted to leave this in because mishaps do happen in makeup, and it's okay. Because you can see it just wipes away and you can easily fix it later. But since I have something else I need to film, I said I just wouldn't fix it and would finish this eye for you to be able to see another look you can do with this palette. So I hope you enjoyed look number 3. Let's hope that look number 4 goes a lot better. Okay, if you are coming from look number 3, then you know how that kind of was a disaster. So today I thought it'd be nice to keep this look very simple. I'm going to be doing a one and done eyeshadow look with this palette. Besides, later on this afternoon I have to do some grocery shopping and everything like that. So I just want to have a very simple look. So I'm going to take the shade Rocker on my finger and just put that all over my lid and kind of work it into my crease a little bit. And this is the only shade that I'm wearing today. That's it. And that's everything. Just that one shade. All over the lid and kind of dragged up into the crease. That is all I'm going to be doing on my eyelids, so I'm going to quickly do the rest of my face off camera and then be right back to do the lower lash line, which is the very same shade. Okay, I'm going back in with that rocker shade, the same shade that I used all over my lid, and I'm just going to take the flat side of this 419 brush from LA Colors and just start placing that on the lower lash line. Now, I really love colorful looks, but these types of looks are my favorite. I love very pretty, everyday, simple makeup like this. And just some mascara on the lower lash line, and this look is all done. And here are the eyes all done. So there we have completed look number 4. The rest of the products that are on my face will be listed for you below. Now I have one more look I will be doing with this palette, and then we'll have a full week's worth of eyeshadow looks from this palette. Alright, the 5th and final look I'll be doing with this palette, and I realized that I've used all the shades except for the shade Firecracker. So I do want to use that shade today, but first thing I'm going to take this e.l.f. pointed eye pencil brush, and I'm going to go in with the shade Smarty Pants. Just going to take that in my crease. Then I'm going to take a little bit more Smarty Pants and just kind of stamp it on this outer portion of my lid. Then just do the same thing on the other eye. Blend it into my crease first. And then pack it on the outer corner of my eye. And on that same brush, I'm going to take the shade Flower Child and then just start putting that on the inner portion of my lid. I've really put a dent in this shade because this is the shade that I use to set my eyeshadow primer. Because it's kind of like my skin tone shade. I did a look similar to this one. I want to say it might have been the second look I did. But this time we're going to add a wing, and I'm going to be using that Firecracker shade as a wing. I'm going to take the shade Firecracker on an angled brush from e.l.f. Then I'm going to take some setting spray. I have this one from LA Colors, which is a matte setting spray. You can use whatever you want, and I'm going to spray my brush with that. I'm sorry, it's so hard to talk when I'm doing liner. Something kind of like that. I'm not a pro at wings. Now, try to recreate this on the other side. Okay, they're not perfect, and I have to do a little bit of cleaning up on this side, but I'm going to quickly do that and finish the rest of my face. I'll be right back to finish up the lower lash line. Okay, so once I finished the rest of my makeup, I decided that I didn't really want to wear anything on the lower lash line. I think it looks good with just the wing. I like that. I didn't want to put anything on the lower lash line other than mascara. So here is the finished look. But there is the 5th and final look with this palette. If you did enjoy this video, I hope that you will please consider subscribing. That would mean so very much to me. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.